All right, let's dive into a question that I think hits close to home for almost everyone. Why on earth do we buy things we know, deep down, we don't actually need? Well, it turns out the answer has a lot less to do with willpower and a whole lot more to do with what's happening right inside your brain. Let's get into it. Okay, confession time. That's a real quote from my own bank statement. And I have a pretty strong feeling that I am not the only one who has felt that little pang of regret, that moment of, wait, why did I do that? And what did that grand total get me, you ask? Well, an LED light strip for a room I'm rarely in, a brand new smartwatch, even though the one I already have works perfectly, and, my personal favorite, a $42 ergonomic water bottle, which I can now confirm holds water in exactly the same way my old $5 one did. You know, it is so easy to beat yourself up over this stuff, to just think, ugh, I'm just so impulsive, or I've got zero self-control. But what if it's not really a personal failing at all? What if this is all about a fundamental chemical reaction happening inside every single one of our brains? This brings us right to the heart of it. What is actually going on up there when we're scrolling through deals late at night? Well, it turns out it has almost everything to do with one very, very powerful little chemical. And that chemical is dopamine. Now, this is the part that's so important to understand. We always hear dopamine called the happiness chemical, but that's not quite right. Really, it's the anticipation chemical. Your brain releases that dopamine hit before you buy the thing. It's that moment you're imagining it, you're craving it. It's literally the thrill of the hunt. And this chart just lays out the disconnect perfectly. On the left, you see that smartwatch and you think, yes, I'm buying a more productive, a fitter, a more organized me. But on the right, what you're really buying is that temporary chemical rush that comes from just anticipating that new you. You're not actually buying the solution, you're buying the feeling of a solution. And that feeling, that dopamine rush, it fades, and it fades fast. So if our brains are already wired this way, it is absolutely critical to realize that this isn't happening in a vacuum. Nope. There is an entire economic system that has been masterfully designed to pull that exact trigger in your brain. You know, for a long, long time, advertising was simple. It was, hey, your shoes have holes in them, you need new shoes. But then there was this massive shift. Marketers figured out they could stop selling us products and start selling us emotions. They went from fulfilling our needs to actually manufacturing our desires. And today, that system is more sophisticated than ever before. That limited time deal, that's scarcity, and it triggers our fear of missing out. Seeing that same product everywhere, that's social proof. And of course, the big one, personalization algorithms that know exactly what you want to see to get that dopamine flowing. It creates this targeted impulse that is just so hard to resist. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What's the big deal? It's just a few small purchases here and there. But the long-term cost of these little dopamine hits, it can be absolutely massive. Just look at this number, over $18,000. Where on earth does a number like that even come from? Okay, let's break this chart down because this is powerful stuff. We call it the lifetime leak. Now, look at that first bar on the left. That represents just $100 a month on those small, harmless impulse buys. Over 10 years, that adds up to $12,000. Just gone. Now, look at the second bar. This is where the story really changes. This shows what would have happened if that same $100 a month was invested, earning a pretty standard 8% return. It's not $12,000, it's over $18,000. That gap between those two bars, that is the lifetime leak. That is the true cost. We are not just talking about money for gadgets. We're talking about the lost opportunity for a dream vacation, a down payment on a car, a huge step towards real financial freedom. But here's the powerful, incredible truth. Just being aware of this is the first giant step toward taking back control. You can short-circuit this loop. You can learn to be intentional, and in doing that, you can gain a totally different and much more lasting kind of freedom. So here are 4 simple, powerful steps. First, the 48-hour rule. That dopamine rush is temporary. Waiting 2 days lets it fade so you can think clearly. Second, calculate the cost in your own time. If you make $20 an hour, that $100 gadget cost 5 hours of your life. Is it still worth it? Third, unsubscribe. Get rid of the temptation. And finally, ask the big question. Would I still want this if it wasn't on sale? That separates what you truly want from a deal you've been tricked into wanting. And this all leads us to the real heart of the matter. In a world that is screaming at you that you are what you own, It is so easy to start believing it, to think that the next purchase is the one that's finally going to complete the picture of who you want to be. But here's the truth. Buying things is not the problem. Believing that those things will define you, that's the illusion. Because when you strip away all the clever marketing, when you see past the chemical rush, you're left with this one fundamental truth. The most valuable asset you will ever own, the one purchase that grants you real, lasting freedom, well, it's not something you can add to a shopping cart. It's the conscious, powerful decision to claim control over your own mind, to choose to buy with intention so that you can live with freedom. That's the real prize. Thanks for being here.